Now I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce the keynote. Unfortunately, Minister Christoph Schubert is unable to join us today, but please, I would like to direct your attention to the podium for Michael Pukaluk, the Director at the Prime Minister's Office.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much. I was asked to read out the statement of Minister Schubert, who was unable to be here today with us because of some health considerations. But this is not the full text that I'm going to read out. The full text is available online on EuroDIG website. Please get familiar with this if you're interested. Ladies and gentlemen, last year I had the pleasure to talk the EuroDIG to invite everyone to Katowice, where in December 2021, within the 16th United Nations Internet Governance Forum, the global multi-stakeholder community discussed the future of the Internet. In person, as it was, Katowice IGF provided a fully hybrid format. For over 300 sessions that were held, we had a record number of more than 10,000 registered participants. It was our honor to host over 2,700 participants online, on-site in Katowice. We are joined by nearly 200 ministers, parliamentarians, and other high-level leaders from the private sector, civil society, and technical community. Looking back now, I'm proud that we made it possible for numerous policymakers, entrepreneurs, representatives of academia and non-governmental organizations. Lots of the youth, thousands of people from all around the world to meet and to debate the opportunities and challenges posed by the Internet, as well as ways to fully exploit the potential of the Internet. To underline the importance of Internet-related laws at national levels, IGF included a parliamentary track, which was direct continuation of the parliamentary roundtables held at previous IGFs. Parliamentarians exchanged views on key digital policy challenges, such as privacy rights and a legitimate use of personal data, a balance between freedom of speech and fight against harmful online content, as well as the governance of artificial intelligence. IGF listens to and works with the world's youth. The aim of the Global Youth IGF Summit held in Katowice was not only to build on the experience of previous editions, but also to move one step forward. Voice of the Youth was very well heard and was incorporated into the conference outcome. We wish for every discussion, regardless of the level, to have its outcomes that can be put into practice. A positive vision for the future of the Internet must combine fundamental values such as human rights, access and openness, as well as economic considerations. This is just one of the conclusions included in the Katowice IGF messages, a final document issued after last year's forum. It's a toolbox of guidelines and approaches to internet governance and digital policy. Ensuring that all people have meaningful access to the internet is a global priority, and I think we all support this message. On the other hand, though, stakeholders need to reflect how people will be able to use connectivity once they get the access. To support the idea of the open internet and the worldwide digital dialogue, we need to engage even more in activities that promote a multi-stakeholder approach. Personally, I use every occasion to bring the Katowice IGF messages to the attention of decision makers at international fora is the IGF outcomes and decisions are crucial within other major global initiatives. All these are to support countries and communities to use digital technology to drive down inequality, help inclusivity, tackle climate change, and open up economic opportunities. To support these efforts, we need to create strong partnerships between agencies and organizations with a global or regional reach. While carrying out tasks or implementing guidance included into global discussion, we must ensure that the technology will always serve the humankind and not vice versa. In other words, human rights must always be emphasized as of the paramount importance in the global digitization process. Implementing policies requires sustainable financing, an indispensable element stimulating global digital growth and cooperation. We need to encourage investments in connectivity solutions and affordable internet access in developing countries. This can be done by creating funding programs focused on bringing digital technology to citizens, administrations, and businesses. There is a need for promoting and supporting co-investment in high-tech projects and startups with a research, development, and innovations element. In the contemporary world that constantly moves forward, we must make sure that no one is left behind. It's crucial that we look for a common ground and focus on strategic activities like building a complementary matrix of actions based on areas related to vertical building blocks such as infrastructure and connectivity, e-services, and open goods, skills, competencies, and inclusion. Also cybersecurity and digital trust, international cooperation, and investment. Last but not least, it seems impossible not to mention the current deplorable situation in Ukraine. The war takes place to a significant extent also in the digital sphere. Therefore, it's extremely important to have a coherent, multi-stakeholder and responsible vision of the future of the internet, as well as a vision for the development of all kinds of internet-related technologies for the benefit of people and the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I would like to redirect your attention again to the podium to welcome the Mr. Thomas Schneider to talk about the Global Digital Compact. There you are.
Yes, thank you, Nadia. Hello again. I'm trying not to take too much time. As you may know, there's not just the EU and other governments that are thinking about how to cope with digital, but also in the UN, there's quite a lot going on. There's quite some reflections in all specialized agencies, but also on the UN level. And much of this has started with the high-level panel on digital cooperation that the UN Secretary General has set up in 2018, and that published a report. It was a multi-stakeholder, independent panel that he set up with about 22 members, and one of which was our president in the of the Swiss Confederation. Switzerland has also been one of the big supporters of this. That panel has produced a report that was called The Age of Interdependence, that came out in June 2020, that proposed a number of, identified a number of challenges, but also opportunities, and proposed a number of actions, among which things that we've already heard and discussed a number of times, like the creation of a tech envoy position in the UN that would facilitate digital cooperation on a global level among all stakeholders. And this is important. It's not just among governments, but among all stakeholders. And there's a number of substantive recommendations that the panel made, but also a number of recommendations on the architecture of the global architecture of digital cooperation and governance. One of the key issues was, of course, the strengthening and further development of the Internet Governance Forum of the IGF. There were 3 models proposed. One was the so-called IGF Plus model. That was the one that gained most support. And so these were the recommendation of this independent multi-stakeholder panel. And then in 2020, the UN Secretary General proposed his roadmap towards improved digital cooperation and governance, where he picked up basically the ideas of the recommendations of the high-level panel in order to show how he intends to, which ones and how he intends to basically implement these recommendations. And one of the key things that basically grew out of this is the so-called Global Digital Compact, which is embedded or is part of something bigger that is basically the program of his second mandate of the Secretary General of Antonio Guterres, which is called Our Common Agenda, which is like the big vision of how he wants to support the UN, support us help us develop a world that lives up to the expectation of us all living in peace and prosperity and freedom. And there's a digital aspect to this, which is the Global Digital Compact that is supposed to be worked out by, if I'm not mistaken, the end of next year. And it has several layers of work. There has been 7 key topics that have been identified as kind of baskets in which the substantive work on this compact should be structured. And of course, the newly announced tech envoy, Amandeep Gill, will have a key role in facilitating the work towards this Global Digital Compact. And the details of the procedures are not yet fully clear. We do have some people in the room from international institutions or from structures that may have some informal details that I don't know whether they're able to share this. But the way it seems now is that it is planned to have a multi-stakeholder phase where input from all stakeholders will be taken into account. That will be in the first half, more or less, of the process that will be launched, I think, after the summer break. And so it is actually quite timely that the IGF that we will have in Addis Abeba at the end of November will be a key moment for the multi-stakeholder community to feed in their views into the IGF, which will then be fed into the process of on elaborating the compact. At some point in time, probably towards spring then the next year, the whole thing will be dealt with by the governments only in the UN. We were among those that were pushing for being as multi-stakeholder, as open and inclusive as possible, ideally until the very end. As you know that not all the governments have the same views regarding inclusion of other stakeholders. So this is basically the broad outline, as far as I understand it, and as far as I know of what is currently available of information on this project. This is supposed to be like one of the, let's say, a key element of the digital legacy of the current UN Secretary General, and he wants this to be something that matters. To what extent what the common denominators will be in the current geopolitical situation is something that we will all see, but I think we should definitely use it as an occasion to try and make the voice heard of all European stakeholders, but also encourage and support all other regions in the world to make the voices of all their stakeholders from all stakeholder groups, but also all regions in the world, to make them heard, to use the IGF, use EuroDIG, and we'll hear concretely what we intend to do from Mark very soon. So yeah, this is the situation as far as we are currently informed. Happy to answer any questions if you have. Thank you very much.
Please welcome to the stage Markerville.
Yes, thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure to be here. After, 3 years hoping to get to Trieste, and we're here, so that's fantastic. And as Thomas, Ambassador, has described, it's a very timely opportunity for us to look at what's going on in terms of UN process and the big picture. And the Summit of the Future next year, September 2023, the fact that it includes a technology track and that the Secretary General has given great emphasis to this track is a reflection of recognition by the Secretary General and, of course, many member states that digital transformation is going to be an important element of ensuring citizens of the future have maximum opportunity, social welfare and economic opportunity. And the fact that this technology track is starting, certainly, in a multi-stakeholder way, led by the Tech Envoy's office, I think is very welcome. And as Thomas said, we should really seize this opportunity as a regional stakeholder community to engage. And as some of you may have already seen, on the Tech Envoy's website, there is guidance on how stakeholders can contribute to the development of the Global Digital Compact, which is the culmination of the technology track. This compact will set out the basic elements of ensuring open, free, inclusive, and secure digital future. So we have the opportunity to feed in ideas for what the compact should include. Now, as Thomas said, the Tech Envoy has indicated some issues that might well be included, but it's not an exclusive list. It includes very obvious ones like digital connectivity, how to avoid internet fragmentation, options for protecting personal data. These are all, I'm sure, top priority for many of us. Human rights online, and providing a trustworthy internet which gives accountability for discrimination online, for misleading information online, regulation of AI, perhaps that's a surprise that it's in there specifically, and this advancing the concept of the digital commons as a global public good. So there are these, I think there were 7 which I've just described, 7 possible elements for the compact. But the Tech Envoy's office are saying, well, that, you can add to that in responding to the questionnaire survey, which they've got on the website now for individual stakeholders and for entities and regional organizations like EuroDIG to consult. We can add to that if we wish. And so it's an important opportunity for us. And we haven't got that much time. The questionnaire survey that's on the Tech Envoy's website gives a deadline of the end of September. Now, that might seem a long way off, but, in the Northern Hemisphere here, we've got our August holiday period, so we better start working on this pretty quickly. Now, how is EuroDIG going to go about responding to this process as a regional forum which can engage in the kind of consultations that the Tech Envoy is looking for? Well, there's this meeting, first of all. We've been promoting awareness of the Global Digital Compact from the start of day 0, and we're discussing it now, and we will discuss it in future sessions during later today and tomorrow. So from that early consideration of the significance of the Global Digital Compact, we can formulate some messaging, certainly from Trieste, relating to the Global Digital Compact and the opportunity for the EuroDIG community to participate in the consultation. But we should follow that up in a very meaningful and effective way. And as in the past with the high-level panel on digital cooperation, we can use the commenting platform that EuroDIG has, and we will use that. We will invite comments from all of you, stakeholders, here physically, online, and all your networks of stakeholders. Please let them know. Please spread awareness of this opportunity. We'll invite you to submit comments to the commenting platform on the EuroDIG website. Your reflections on what the Tech Envoy has described as possible issues, but also what else might well be included in the compact, and your views on the whole effectiveness of the compact and what it's going to lead to in terms of the summit of the future. So, well, we haven't decided a firm date for deadline for your comments to the commenting platform, but I think we're going to aim for something like the early part of September. We'll then review all the comments received, and we'll try and produce a report, a kind of digest of common areas of agreement, the new ideas that are coming through, and we'll put that together in a report. And we propose to hold a EuroDIG Extra seminar. Now, we've done this in the past as well. I moderated the one that we had on the multi-stakeholder high-level board proposal that came out of the roadmap, which is now the leadership panel. We held a very successful and productive EuroDIG Extra event on that. So we'll plan to hold that in mid-September, based on the report of the comments we've received on the commenting platform. We'll have a discussion, and then we'll finalize our input as the EuroDIG community for submission to the Tech Envoy's office by the end of September. So basically, that's the timeline. From now onwards, we'll set a deadline for commenting to the platform for comments, then we'll hold a EuroDIG Extra event, and then we'll finalize the proposal for submission to the Tech Envoy's office. Now, it's important we get as many voices involved in this as possible. And especially in this year of the youth, the European Year of the Youth, we want young people's voices. And I'm looking really to the EuroDIG community to help us out on this. And this is all about the future. You know, this is about the next generation. So young people's voices we've got to have fully taken into account in formulating our input into the Global Digital Compact process. We need also to link up and spread awareness amongst the corporate sector. We need business voices involved too. I'm looking to everybody here who's got business people in their networks to promote awareness of this opportunity. And the parliamentary, government, regulatory community, I hope they are going to help us out as well. And of course, civil society leads and academia. We want everybody to help us to develop an impressive, effective response to the Global Digital Compact consultation that's going to demonstrate multi-stakeholderism at work. That will lead to the kind of compact that's going to serve the interests of citizens, of business interests, of the public policy aspects that we've been talking about in terms of sovereignty and so on today at great length. All of this is going to converge together in the Global Digital Compact and be an integral part of the Summit of the Future. So that's basically our approach. If anybody's got any questions, happy to take them now. We'll finalize the specifics of deadlines and so on very shortly. I will post those on the EuroDIG website. But that's the approach we're taking. If anybody's got some views on that, let me know. And Sandra and Thomas, of course. Thank you.
Mark has kindly opened the floor for questions. There's 4 minutes left for questions, and I see that there's one person at the mic. So would you like to ask a question?
It's less of a question, more a statement. I'm Chris Buckridge. I work with RIPE NCC. I'm also an IGF MAG member at the moment. Yeah, I think wanted to echo basically a lot of what Mark is saying here. I think it's a good approach that he's outlined to develop EuroDIG input here. I think in many ways EuroDIG has evolved in recent years to produce outputs that are quite suited for this kind of repurposing or sort of giving messages not just to all stakeholders but to specific processes like this. So I think that's something we really need to build on. So I would strongly urge that as we're thinking about the messages that we're developing in this afternoon sessions and in tomorrow afternoon sessions, that we keep in mind, are these messages that we want to put forward for the Global Digital Compact? How are we sort of conveying those? How are we structuring them or framing them? Because I think we have a really good opportunity there. I think, yeah, you also mentioned, Mark, that it's, you know, we want to hear young voices, we want to hear all stakeholder voices. It doesn't just need to be EuroDIG doing this. I mean, I think the EuthDIG participants have already been developing messages. So again, that's a format that could really easily go in from EuthDIG or from a number of individuals from EuthDIG. It doesn't have to be necessarily the whole group. So I think the important thing is really, yeah, that call to just get in, get involved, have some input. And the IGF MAG, I know, has been having these discussions, particularly the working group on strategy and strengthening the IGF has been following this development and working with the Office of the Tech Envoy. And I think has had some really strong messages back to them, both about getting the NRIs involved and making sure that you're using those national and regional initiatives to get input. Also the intersessional work that goes into the IGF, the dynamic coalitions, the policy networks. And then the IGF itself, which comes later in the year. And I mean, that's a really important point, that for a potentially very significant international agreement, this is a very tight timeline. And so we need to make sure that we have the opportunity to have that multi-stakeholder voice formulated and heard there. And I think that's also carries through into the drafting of the document itself. We also need to look to examples of multi-stakeholder processes to do this, like Net Mundial, for instance, rather than just having the multi-stakeholder input and then handing it over to member states to bash out behind closed doors. I think that would not be an ideal way for this to go forward. So yeah, you're right, we need to really put the best voice forward for this to represent the multi-stakeholder process and to ensure that that multi-stakeholder approach is adhered to. So thanks.
Thank you very much for your comment. I fear that we have run out of time, but I would like to thank you very much for your contribution.